And so it's like a presentation I designed to give during these English lounges that we held with like potentially interested Japanese students, to sort of give them a taste of like what they would be making at camp if they attended. And so this is a condensed version because normally it would be either 30 minutes or an hour. And I'll go ahead and get started. Just one thing is that like it is in theory like a more interactive presentation of like asking questions and getting responses. But like if no one's feeling interactive, that's okay. Like the interactive aspect is more to like get the Japanese students speaking English. So if no one raises their hand, like I'm not going to be upset and I'll just like answer my own questions. So yeah, so my presentation is on the practice and benefits of mindfulness. Originally, I start with this word cloud, which we won't do because we're only 3 people. But if anybody wants to like unmute themselves and answer the question, what do you think of when you hear the word mindfulness? That would be cool. If not, I will also volunteer my own words. But any takers?
Awareness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think about calm and peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
How about like respect for yourself and others?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, those are all really, really cool terms. I think it goes to show like how much mindfulness can encompass and like everything it does for us. Thank you all for sharing. So before I talk about what mindfulness is, I'm going to talk about where it comes from. So first, if we think about the word mind, it's the part of us that thinks and feels. So it's like rather than our physical aspect, it's our emotional and logical aspect. To be mindful is to be focused on what is happening. Like Gwen said, it's to be aware. We can also think about it as being present in the moment. And therefore, mindfulness is the practice and ability to be focused and engaged with the present without distraction. So it's really like it can look like a lot of different things, which I'll go into detail on in a little bit, but it's really just the idea of being present, being focused in the moment, focused on yourself rather than all the world around you. So now I'm going to talk about different types of mindfulness practice. These are categories that I came up with. They're not necessarily the only ones, but these are the ones I like. So the first one I have is called focus mindfulness, which is like to pay attention to specific parts of the body and the self. So like a body scan is when you go head to toe, focusing on your body. There's different movement practices like yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong can all be used as practice of mindfulness, even though they can also just serve as like good exercise. Visualization is a focus practice where you close your eyes and like imagine a specific scene. And then a sound bath, also often with closed eyes, is not like there's no water in the bath. You like sit in a room and are sort of washed over with sound. And there's different like prayer bowls, bells, chimes that can be used for mindfulness. And so all of these practices allow you to be present by giving all of your attention to sort of one thing that's happening, which therefore helps you stop focusing on like a lot of things or on anything else that's happening. Then self-kindness, sort of like you mentioned, is can be its own practice, and it's also part of like a lot of different mindfulness practices that get incorporated. Like a lot of these will overlap and be a part of each other. But so one is recognizing, not judging, and that can be for like thoughts, feelings, both like emotional and physical feeling. So like in a body scan, you recognize how your body's feeling. And it's important to just like notice things. That's a big part of mindfulness, is just like notice, but not decide how you feel about what's happening. You know, just like let it happen and recognize that it is what it is. And then also, if you do judge yourself, like forgiving yourself and recognizing that we're taught to judge ourselves. It's part of who we are, and that it's okay that you do that. You know, you don't have to critique yourself in any way, that you're being mindful. Next, we have goal setting, which I've divided into productive, emotional, and physical. When I say productive, I mean more like career or academic productivity, even though like emotional goals, physical goals, any sort of goals in your life are always productive. But so setting goals in any aspect of your life is a really good way of being mindful. A lot of mindfulness experts recommend doing it like first thing when you wake up in the morning, or you can also do it at any point during your day, just to like set a goal of something you want to achieve, something you want to get done. And that really helps you throughout your day always come back to this one central idea. And even though you're going to do other things, think about other things, you'll really be sort of culminating towards this one goal. And then of course, you know, not judging yourself as you get to that goal, forgiving yourself if it takes you a little longer, if you don't get there the way you thought you would. And finally, I have observation, which can be similar to focus, but it's sort of a more like of the self kind of focus. So the five senses is one where you just sit and you recognize what it is you're sensing by sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. It always takes me, like, I can never get all five of those at once. So that was cool. And so that's just like, again, like, you know, of course you can only do it for this present moment. And then also recognizing your feelings and emotions, just kind of throughout the day, or in any specific moment, like being like, how do I feel right now? And really paying attention to how exactly you are feeling, getting really specific with it. Often when people ask us like, oh, how are you? The immediate response is, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. Even though that's not like a very realistic answer of how we feel a lot of the time. And so it really helps us just notice where we're at and, you know, how we want to move forward with where we're at. So now the benefits of mindfulness on physical health. There's a lot of physical benefits to mindfulness. It lowers blood pressure, risk of heart disease. It boosts the immune system and increases cell lifespan, which are very cool. On mental health, it can help lessen stress, depression, anxiety, both like in the moment that you're practicing the mindfulness and also in the long term. It has been shown to improve body image in like studies where people have practiced mindfulness for long term. And it also helps with memory, attention, and focus because you're like developing new neural pathways that then you can use for other things when you're not being specifically mindful. And then I also wanted to talk about social health. So not only does it help us judge ourselves less and respect ourselves more, it also helps us do that for other people. So if we practice something that reduces our judgment, we can then extend that to others. And also if we practice being kind to ourselves, we extend that to others. And I like to talk about the benefits of mindfulness just because on the one hand, it's cool to be informed on what you're doing, like how it helps you. But also I think it can often feel like if times that we're forced to do mindfulness in like a work or a class environment, it can feel sort of like a waste of time. And so if you struggle to get yourself to be mindful, like just for your own like moment state of being, it can help to think about like there are actual tangible benefits to this, like doing this is important, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Whereas something like exercise, I think it's easier to feel like the immediate benefits. Also for my presentation, I tied it into the UN SDGs, good health and well-being, because we love to see it. And then if you'll allow me, I mean, I think I have enough time to do a little body scan meditation. So I'm gonna open that up for myself right now. And so body scan meditation, just to like talk about that again, is a moment where we like pay attention to our body as it is right now. And so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always just like kind of let your gaze sort of fade out or like focus on like a point on the wall, whatever you feel most comfortable doing. So I'm gonna just start reading and guide you through it. Let's begin by taking a moment to allow your body to settle into a comfortable position. You may close your eyes or keep them slightly open. Will your spine to lift and your shoulders to soften. Check in with your bodies to help yourself settle the mind and notice what sensations and emotions might be present. Begin by taking a full breath in and a long breath out through the nose and mouth. Bring awareness to the top of your body, the neck, face, head, and shoulders. Notice any sensations, any movement, and any places of tension in that area. Move down through the arms and to the hands. Sense the back and the front, right and left. Notice if there are any differences, but do not judge how they are. Sense yourself being seated. Feel the contact of your body with the chair you are in and your feet on the floor. Think of how you are supported by the world around you. Notice any differences between the back of your body and the front of your body. Now shift sensation to the upper legs, the lower legs, and the feet. Notice if there are any places that ache or call for your attention. Places where the sensations are stronger or more dynamic. Scan to see if there are any places that lack sensation. Now, bring your attention to the entire body and sense it breathing as one complete organism. Take another full breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. As you continue to breathe, feel how the breath moves through you, where you feel it, and how those feelings change over time. As we come to the end of this practice, take one more full breath in and a long breath out. Slowly open your eyes and let yourself return to the present moment. Okay, cool. So thank you all for doing that. And now I will invite you to share any feelings you had either like during the body scan, now that it's done, anything you liked, didn't like, or surprised by, or sort of just anything that comes to mind. Or not, that's cool too.
I noticed myself feeling a little bit fidgety at first and then calming down later on, so that was nice.
Cool. All right, Gwen, thank you for sharing. I hope you all enjoyed it, and hopefully it helps us be a little more centered on the rest of our presentations. And so now just a more general discussion on mindfulness. We can do these questions in order, or we can just go ahead and you can pick a question that you want to talk about. So the first one is if anyone practices types of mindfulness, either from the ones I discussed on the previous slide or anything else, because that was not a very comprehensive list. Mindfulness can look like a lot of different things. Secondly, what interests you most about mindfulness, or also, what aspects of it don't interest you, do you think could be different? And thirdly, do you think mindfulness could be incorporated into the classroom/workplace? In what ways? So you're welcome to share any thoughts. If no one has any thoughts, I can talk about previous discussions that we had on this topic. But and I can get the ball rolling. So we, in one of my presentations, one of the Common Out staff in Japan told us that in her school, like in her primary school, I don't remember the Japanese word for it, but it sort of meant like silence. And so at the beginning of every class, like every class of every day, their teacher would say this word and they would have a full minute of silence that just kind of like focused everyone, and like its like main purpose is to calm the students down for the class, but also really just like gets you focused on what you're about to do and lets you like sort of forget on what's happening outside of the classroom. And in my own experience, I've practiced mindfulness with like very small kids when we have like recess and then we need to bring them back into the class, even though they're not often like very good at really following the mindfulness instructions. Just sitting in like a dark room and having to listen to like a slow narration or focus on an image does help them like slow down and relax a little bit. So those are the ways I've seen it in classes.
For me, during high school, our class was like did this trial run for yoga for PE, physical education, and I think we were the only class to do it, but I think it was very helpful, and I think it should be like incorporated into the curriculum, I guess, because it was really nice to take some time from the school day and just like calm myself down, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I wish my school had done PE. I like yoga, that's for sure. Well, thank you all for, oh, I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say we would do like sort of bite-sized mindfulness when I did theater in college. Sometimes before shows, like between warming up and the show, we would do it.
Yeah, theater kids do mad mindfulness. And also like we had this discussion in my like presentation as well about theater, that like a lot of theater warm-ups also count as mindfulness. Like we often think of mindfulness as calming ourselves down, but also like getting yourself really excited, if it's like by movement or by chanting or like mantras, like also gets you very present, even if it's a very different energetic state, which is cool and like something that I need to incorporate into my presentation moving forward. So thank you for sharing that.
I just got a question. Oh, sorry, it's a question that's
No,
unrelated to the discussion.
Yeah.
So, you teach English in Spain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just curious, like, in terms of, I don't know if you've taught English in other countries, like if you've taught in the US at all, or you've taught English anywhere else, but if you have, and if you've incorporated mindfulness in both places, have you noticed any kind of differences either between the different countries or between different like age groups of people? Just really curious.
Yeah. So when I like had mindfulness with smaller students, that was here in Spain at like a summer school. And I haven't had the chance to like incorporate mindfulness into my other teaching practices because it's like it's often been like 1 hour like sessions with students. And so when you have to answer to parents on like, what have you done for this hour? A lot of them like don't want to hear you say like, oh, we spent 5 minutes breathing, like when we could have been studying for a science test or whatever. But I definitely like want to incorporate it into like long form teaching. Though I would say that I think it would be harder to do here in Spain because like the US has a much more like generally, I'll say like holistic and like liberal arts approach to learning, where Spain is very like memorize this and then tell me it on a test. And so like mindfulness hasn't made its way over here as much, but hopefully it will. Yeah. And then also Headspace is my recommendation. If you're struggling to incorporate mindfulness into your daily routine and want to, it's an app. I don't know exactly how much it costs. I know that if you're a student, you get it for $10 a year. And they just have like really awesome meditations of different lengths for different moments, but also you can find a ton. If you just Google like 3-minute mindfulness on YouTube, you'll get a bunch of videos, and there's a bunch of really good ones. So thank you. I hope this was useful, even if just doing the body scan was useful. So thank you for listening and participating.